All right, there we go. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Giselle Aguiar. My company is AZ Social Media Wiz. I've been doing internet marketing since 1995. And I remember when Google first came out as a powerful global search engine. And now it has many tools to help you market your products and services to potential customers who are searching for what you have to offer. But how do you know if your marketing efforts are working? How do you know where your website visitors are coming from? How do you know how they interact with your website? Most importantly, how do you measure conversions and sales? Conversions are getting people to do what you want them to do, whether sign up for a newsletter list or buy something. Well, that's where Google Analytics come in. As in anything tech, they are constantly updating and improving their platform. And as of July 1st of 2023, that's this summer, the old Google Analytics is going away. And like it or not, if you have a website that you want Google Analytics to track and analyze, you need to transition to Google Analytics 4 or GA4. And I've tried to understand and transition both of my websites, and me having more of a creative mind rather than an analytical or technical mind, I got lost, confused, and frustrated. Hence, I turned to an expert, Willie Campos of Sophisticated Marketing. Willie has been kind enough to offer his expertise and show us how to switch to GA4. Willie has a Bachelor of Science and Master's of Science degree in marketing from the University of Texas at Dallas, has been working in digital marketing for over 10 years. Throughout his career, he oversaw the management of millions of dollars in advertising spend across a range of industries. He owns Sophisticated Marketing, a marketing agency that specializes in search engine marketing and data analytics. Oh, Will, you're bless your heart, you're exactly what we need. So take it away.
Thanks, Giselle. Yes, as Giselle mentioned, I've been in this industry for quite some time. I've worked both in-house for some software development companies as well as for some large agencies across the country. Started my agency back in early 2019, right before COVID hit, actually about a year before COVID hit. And once that happened, everyone was online and business really picked up. Data analytics is even more important than it ever has been. And in the future, it's pretty much the future of digital advertising, digital marketing. So with that, we'll go into the presentation. So as Giselle mentioned, in March of last year, Google made a big announcement, which many of us in the industry saw this coming. We just didn't know that it was going to be here sooner than what they announced, or we just didn't know it was going to be that soon. Google Analytics 4 has been around since I believe right around 2020. In about 2021, they made it what was called the default property. So we knew this change was coming. This is the announcement that Google sent out, as well as you can find it on their website. As of July 1st of this year, what's called Standard Universal Analytics will no longer be collecting any hits or sessions, so there'll be no new data in there. You will be able to use that data for up to 6 months. So by the end of the year, Google is actually removing all of that data. So it's important that you back it up if you need that data, and that you're set up on Google Analytics 4 as soon as possible. So just to kind of recap that, 2022 is when Google made that announcement. As of July 1st, no longer receiving hits and sessions. By the end of the year, you will lose all of that data that's in Universal Analytics. What this means, obviously, users should migrate to GA4 as soon as possible. It is the future of web analytics for many reasons. If you're in digital marketing, you understand what a cookie-less world is going to look like. So that's very important. So what exactly is GA4? So GA4 is a way that we can track web analytics. It helps us measure engagement and traffic across the web, across web pages, across apps. And with GA4, it actually combines all of that data into one platform, where Universal Analytics, you had to kind of separate those properties if you had an iOS app, an Android app, if you have multiple domains, and now all of this is going to be in one platform or one view. So this is just an overview of what the dashboard looks like. If you're familiar with Universal Analytics, you'll see right off the bat that it's very different. So the interface is different. It's been around since 2020. It is the future of analytics. And it's a little bit different than Universal Analytics because it's using AI, machine learning for data modeling. It's very focused on privacy, especially since third-party data is going away. A big focus on first-party data. And it's built to adapt to that cookieless future that I mentioned early on. Their data modeling is collecting that data, using the insights, and then activating that data that you have. So what that means is Google Analytics is going to collect that data. It's going to give you insights, whether it's automated insights or whether you're creating specific reports. And then you can actually activate that data and use it in other platforms like Google Ads, Google Business Profile as an example. So now we'll go into the difference of Google Analytics 4 and Universal Analytics. The biggest thing is Universal Analytics used hits and sessions, page views as their big part of as their hits, and Google Analytics 4 is all event-based. So even though it was nice to know, and you can still see this data, but even though it was nice to say, hey, maybe we got 1,500 page views in the last 30 days for this particular page, that's not really of much value. It's more of what the user's actually doing on the page. So as you can see as an example here, all of these different hit types are now considered events. There are events that are right out of the box that in the past you had to manually configure certain events to be tracked. So now, as you can see, for example, first visits are considered events versus just a page view. E-commerce, same thing. So if you have an e-commerce business, you don't have to worry about setting up custom events to track add to carts, begin checkouts, and purchases. All of that is right out of the box. So another big change with Google Analytics, it's combining your websites and your apps into one platform, into one view. Previously, Firebase, which was bought by Google, you had to go in and link that up to Google Analytics, and it was a separate property where you had to see your iOS data, your Android data, and then obviously your website data. All of this is in one property where you can see that for cross-domain, cross-device tracking. And consumers are very aware now, and they want to know how you're using their data. So we'll go into that a little later, but that's one of the things to where everything's going to be in one view, one property, using one script to track everything. Goals are in Universal Analytics. They were considered goals. So if you had a purchase, maybe a form fill, a phone call, an email, anything that was of value to you, you had to create goals. Those are now considered conversions in Google Analytics 4. You don't have the option of or the ability to create multiple views like you do in Google Analytics 4. Now there's one property. There's no views. You can have multiple properties, but I'll go into that as well. So the difference, another big difference is the way that Google defines metrics. So in the past, total users was a main metric. Now we have active users versus engaged users. Same thing with page views. Now it's total number of pages viewed, which is an event. Sessions, goals, as I mentioned earlier. Bounce rate is pretty much non-existent in the new Google Analytics 4. It's still available, but it's not really a metric that has much to do with events. So and just some list there of some definitions. So how to transition to Google Analytics 4? There's a few different ways that we do that. We can use universal analytic tags. Not recommended we go that method. And once we go into the demo, I'll show you how to do that. But yeah, we want to kind of start off pretty much fresh with the data. So this is just an overview. Like I said, we're going to have a demo, but if you're familiar with the interface of Google Analytics, the left side is your account, which you go in, you create an account. So if you're a business or an agency, for an agency, you're going to want to have multiple accounts, one account per client. In this case, you would have one account. Then you would create properties. As you can see, that's what Google Analytics 4, that's considered a property, which in the past, it was Universal Analytics. Then you would have a property for your app, for your apps, and now it's just one property. And the third column is your views. That's been eliminated, so you're not going to have views, but it's fairly simple, at least for me. And I know that's probably not simple for a lot of people out here, but Google Analytics 4 right now, it has a setup assistant, so it'll kind of walk you through the steps of setting everything up. It has a checklist of everything you need to set up, which is called a data stream. So you create your data stream, which is your website, your apps, and all of that data will get fed into that particular property. This can be done through Google Tag Manager, direct integrations with CMSs, so like WordPress, Wix, Shopify. All of these CMS or web builders are going to have a direct integration using the measurement ID. Now, there are other methods. You can take what's called the global code and place that directly on your website, just hard code it. Not recommended to really do that unless that's your only option, but also fairly easy to do that as well. You want to turn on your Google Signals. What that does, it allows Google to track particular information from users who are using Google. So it may be demographics like their age, their gender, and all of that you can start to turn on, and you can start seeing that data in Google Analytics. It is required enhanced remarketing and reporting if you want to be able to use those Google Signals. So, and then setting up conversions, which in the past were known as events, and then goals, and then adding users. So those are just a quick steps on how to set up Google Analytics 4. So same thing here. This is how it's going to walk you through. There is some advanced setups. If you needed to link it to BigQuery, for example, or if you have other data sources and you want to import that data. So if you have like a payment system that you want to import that data into Google, you can do that as well. Reporting, a lot of standard reports right out of the box. So you have your acquisition reports, your real-time reports, engagement. If you're e-commerce, your monetization reports, and then obviously your user reports, so demographics, technology, like the type of device they're using, the browser, and then there's some custom reports that you can create as well as insights, which I'll go into that as well. Then we have what's called exploration reports. Exploration reports are reports that you're going to create. So there's a few different types of reports. You can do tables, funnel reports, user lifetime reports. So now we can go into the demo on not just how to set up Google Analytics 4, but also the entire interface. And I'll walk you through all of the different features of Google Analytics 4. So Giselle, did you want to connect us over to the account that we're going to connect? Giselle, are you there?
Sorry, I'm muted. Okay.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
Okay, yeah, I made you an admin to it, so you should
Oh, you
have
did.
access to
That's
it.
right. That's right.
Yes.
So let me
Okay.
go ahead and connect to that
Are
really
there any
quick.
questions while he's connecting? Please put them in the chat.
And I know I went kind of fast, But once we go into the demo, I'll slow things up. That was just an overview of everything. So let me go ahead and share my screen again.
Yeah, I think one of the things that had me confused is that everything was now an event. And I'm like,
Yeah, everything is considered an event now versus a hit or page views. Okay, so let's go into, and I apologize. Can you remind me what the name
natural
of that?
medicine and detox.
Okay.
And thank you, Melissa, for allowing us to use your account as a demo.
Oh, you gave me access to WordPress. Okay, so very first thing we're going to do is we have to create that account. So as I mentioned earlier, once you're in the settings section, here is where you're going to set up those accounts. As you can see, we have multiple accounts, Google Analytics accounts in this. So that was, and I apologize, can you put in the link to that client site
Sure, it's
in the chat?
Oops, hold on. Thought I added you. There it is. Thought I added you to the analytics. Yeah, they currently have an account. They're just in the old one. There they are. Cool.
Can't hear you.
Oh, I apologize. So what I was saying is, in an instance where it's a brand new account, you would just go to create an account. You would name it. In this case, you would always want to name it your business name. If you want to opt into sharing your data with Google's team, you can do that. And then it'll kind of walk you through the steps of setting up your first property and giving you information, or giving them information about your business. But in this case, there's already a Google Analytics account. As you can see here, this is the Universal Analytics account. We're going to go to create a property, right? So when we go in and create that property, we would name it, same thing, the property name, which is natural medicine and detox. We would choose, is this business in there is on the West Coast, or do you know where it's located, Giselle? I can probably find that out really
Phoenix.
quick. Phoenix, okay. So in this case, we're gonna, and this is for reporting, obviously. So we would choose Phoenix as a time. If it's the currency, if it's e-commerce, you would choose the currency. And then there's also some advanced options. And that advanced option is, do you want to create a universal analytics along with the GA4 property? No reason to do that at this point, I think, just because we're only 7 months away from that property being depreciated. So then we would hit next. We can also use the GA4 setup assistant, as I mentioned earlier, and I'll use that now because creating that property, that's a little bit easier. This GA4 setup assistant is meant to be easier, but it goes through a lot of steps. So I'll walk through that right now. So we would hit get started. This is just kind of letting you know what you're doing. You're going to create and continue. So if the client has a tag on, or if you have a tag on your website, and I'll explain what that means in a little bit, you can choose that particular tag, right? These are all the different tags we have. we're going to set up the client with a brand new tag using, like we mentioned, either Website Builder or Google Tag Manager. So this is the next step it's going to take you to. This is the website. It can scan to see if there's any platforms that has a direct integration.
Yeah,
In
she's
this
got
case,
she's
oh,
got
go ahead.
Sidekick. Yeah.
Oh, okay, she's got Sidekick. That's right.
Mhm.
So then we would choose Sidekick. Now we would need to go into the client's website, in the web builder. In this case, it's WordPress, and install the tag, or actually add in the tag. And I'm gonna go to one of our websites, and we can show you how that's done. It's very, very easy. And then I'm also going to show you another option, which is through Google Tag Manager. So in this case, if the client has Google Tag or WordPress, we would go to, and I'll just go to my account to make it easier.
And I know not everybody has WordPress, so it's
Yeah,
he
and
did-
a lot of it
yeah.
is very similar. So whether you're on Wix, there's an option there for your integration with Google Analytics. That measurement ID that I mentioned, which is up here, that's called the measurement ID.
Mhm.
That's what we're going to use to do a direct integration. So in this case, the plugin that I use, it's a little bit different than the Google site. What is it called? What did you say?
Sidekick.
Sidekick, yes. So I use one that's called Google Tag Manager for WordPress, but if we wanted to add it to, let's say, and you know what? Let me add that plugin just so you guys can see.
I was just going to
what a
say, if you
direct
copy that in the chat, so I have it and I can do it at the same time here on this
Yeah,
site.
so I can go ahead and just install this plugin. It won't take much, and then put in that. I won't activate it, but I can put in that particular measurement ID. So what Sitekit is, it's just a plugin made by Google that allows you to integrate all of your Google platforms with WordPress. So if I went down to Sitekit and I went to settings, where let's see, I haven't used Sitekit, so here it is. And I want to connect Google Analytics 4, I would sign in with my Google account. I would continue. And there's other plugins that you can use as well if you're on WordPress. All right, let's see why it's not accepting my login. Oh, sorry about that. I need to accept permissions, which is interesting. So for some reason, it's not letting me set up Sidekick, which is fine. Because all we're doing is plugging in that measurement ID and activating the plugin.
Okay,
Like
actually, I'm on her thing now and I see it connected to your, yeah, I see it connected to yours.
okay, so it's connected on hers. I don't think I have access to her WordPress site, which is fine though. I'm going to show you another way because I think a more recommended way isn't a direct integration. And the reason I say that is because with Google Tag Manager, if there's custom conversions that you want to create, you're going to have to do that through Google Tag Manager. If you're adding additional tracking scripts, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, HubSpot, anything else, instead of having multiple plugins or having, and some of these other web builders that don't have direct integrations, you're going to want to do that through what's called Google Tag Manager. And that's just the recommended method of doing that. If you have WordPress, you're still going to want to download a plugin. In this particular case, let's go to, I downloaded what was called Google Tag Manager for WordPress. And what that is pretty much a container that's going to hold
There it is.
all of your scripts and any type of customization that you want for tracking is going to be held in that particular container, what's called a container. So very, very easy for Google Tag Manager. You would go in, you say you want to create an account. I'll name this one testing as an example. It's located in the United States. Currently, it's just for my web and not for iOS or anything. And then I would put in the website testing.com as an example. I'm going to accept the terms and conditions. And now we have a Google Tag Manager container. Within there, you're going to, in the admin section, you'll find your what's called your container ID. You would copy that. You would go back to the plugin and just kind of pop it in. That's the exact same thing you would be doing with Google Analytics 4. You would just kind of plug in that Google that measurement ID. In this case, we'll go back. We'll look at my container and exactly what we need to do.
I just got into Natural Medicine and Detox WordPress and the Sitekit plugin, and it just walked me right through it. Now that the Google and the GA4 was set up, it just plugged it right in. I didn't have to copy anything. It just went right. It just connected really quickly.
So then from there, yeah, so you can see using those plugins is great. They are fairly limited though if you want to add additional scripts. If you're using Google Tag Manager, you would just go into tags. You would create a new one, a new tag. And then there's a pre-built tag. It's called GA4 configuration. You would plug in the measurement ID, same thing you would do on Wix or Shopify or any of these other platforms. And then we'd want this to trigger on all pages. Then we would just hit save. This is already on here, as you can see. Let's see. Was added 2 years ago. Google Analytics 4 measurement ID. And that's, we would go through this entire, so it looks like it's giving you now, and this is something new. So Google is constantly adding new features and new things to Google Analytics 4. So it's kind of going through the entire process for you. Once you hit done, you are done there. The property ID is here. If we go into the correct property, which you can see is GA4, this will be going away in by the end of this year. And this is it here. If we went to a particular website, which I'm going to use a demo account. So this is set up now. If we went into a particular, let's go to this demo account we have called Google Analytics 4. We're just going to use web traffic. Okay. So this particular account has data in there, so that way I can kind of walk you through everything and through all of the different features, reporting, what's called debugging. And you can see this is just the homepage for this particular demo account. In the last 7 days, 15,000 users, just some information here, geographical information. But let's go ahead and start with the beginning. So you already are familiar with Setup Assistant. The property settings, if you wanted to go in there and this is just a demo account, so we're not going to be able to update any of this information. But if you wanted to change the name of the property, If you wanted to change the industry category, whether it's maybe retail versus business services, your reporting time zone, and any currency displayed. Your data streams, this, as you can see, is what I meant by before you had to have a separate property for iOS, for your apps and some for your web. So right here is all of our different data streams that are feeding into this particular property. We have the website, we have the Android app, and then we have an iOS app, all receiving data or bringing in data into this property. This is the measurement ID that was implemented, whether it was hard-coded onto the site or through a direct integration or through Google Tag Manager. Enhanced measurement. So one of the very first things you're going to want to do when you have your Google Analytics 4 set up is you're going to want to turn on enhanced measurement. That's going to give you all of the out-of-the-box tracking. So your page views, which are your events, your scrolls. Let's see, it's not going to let me, so I'm going to go to mine since we're limited on some of these accounts. And I'll be going back and forth just to kind of show you the difference of certain things. So if we went into my domain, my stream, and we wanted to look at all of the different all of the different out-of-the-box measurement that there's scrolls. So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, that's going to track that it's an event. Outbound clicks, so if a user clicks a link on your website to an external link, it's going to track that. You also have what's called site search. So if you have a search on your website, it can track that, and that's if it has any of these particular parameters. If there's any additional parameters you need to use, you can. So if I'm on someone's website and I search for black Nike shoes, that'll trigger an event for that particular website since I did a search based off of that query. Then we have form interactions, video engagements with YouTube. So if you have an embedded video, it'll start to capture that data as well. If you're using a different video player, then you have to create custom event tracking for that. And then if you have any type of file downloads like PDFs and ebooks, things like that, this is all out of the box. So in the past, none of this, you had to go in, well, most of these you had to go in and create custom event tracking in Universal Analytics, where this is right out of the box. If we went down into modifying events, you can go in and you can start modifying events. Let me actually open up another analytics account so you can see if there's any modifications to events. All right. Data streams. So if there, well, none in here neither. So if you wanted to modify any particular events, you can by going into that option. If you wanted to create custom events, you can also create custom events. As you can see, we created some custom events for our account, any contact forms, phone calls, email link clicks, forms in Spanish. So a lot of different things that you can create. And then here's your protocol APIs. We're not using any. You can configure your tag settings. Look at any history and any changes made. And I don't think this account is going to let me look at anything. Oh, they do. If you want to configure your domain, so if you have multiple domains, you can add multiple domains. If you want to exclude internal traffic, which we recommend, you would just click show more. You would go down to find internal traffic. You would plug in, and I'll show you on mine. So you would go in and you would plug in your IP address or any IP addresses that you want to exclude from your traffic, and that's just for like your reporting. If there's any cookie settings that you need to override, you can do all of that from here. You can look at history of any changes made, and then who has access to that. So that is that section. No connected sites, so you can use, which we don't recommend it, you can use universal analytics tags, but since that's going away, we just don't recommend that because it may create problems down the road. And then just instructions on how to set up the tag once again. So I'm going to go kind of write down this entire list, and then we'll go into the interface and reporting. So when we look at events, Google automatically is going to show you events. As you can see in this demo account, there's events for first open, in-app purchase, just a lot of different things, level fail for most likely for their app. And this is not going to give me the option, but if we went to my account as an example, you can turn those events on into conversions. So if I saw some of these, let's just say first visit, if I wanted to track a user's first visit to the website, we can mark that as a conversion just by turning this toggle on. Then it would appear here in the conversion columns or in the conversion section to all of your different conversions. So this is the demos account, all of the different conversions that are being tracked. Add to cart, app updates, first opens, level complete, purchases, which if we went to the e-commerce site, we'll start to see purchases as long as they have it set up as a conversion. So purchase right here, 1,200 purchases in the last 28 days. Whoops. Sorry about that. I clicked on something. So here's the purchase, or here's the conversions or the events they have set up as conversions. In all of your views, you're going to be able to go in up here on the right-hand side and update the date range. If you wanted a custom, maybe just wanted to look at the last 3 days, then you can change that here. If you wanted to compare, you can compare data. So these are your conversions that are being tracked, which in the past were considered goals. If you wanted to go in and create particular audiences, there are some audiences that are automatically created in the accounts. In this case, they have 25 different 25 different audiences. These audiences could be used for reporting, they could be used for targeting. So in this case, all users is just standard out of the box. So it's going to track an audience of all your users. This most likely add to cart, well, purchases, same thing, but add to cart most likely was a custom one that they created. I keep clicking too fast. So these are different audiences. So if you wanted to target perhaps people who purchased made a purchase from Canada, then you start to create these audience lists that you can target or create or look at particular data specifically for those users. So this is where your audiences live. You can create custom definitions if you want. And by this, these are parameters. And you can see there's payment types. So if you want to start keeping track of what type of payment your users are using, whether it's, whatever type of payments, you use. And then we have your data settings. So this is an important section here. This is where you turn on your Google Signals, which is already turned on. And we'll go to my account for this. So in data collection, Google Signals have been turned on. That is Google gathering additional information from Google users that are signed into their Google products, whether it be YouTube, Gmail, and it starts to collect that data. You are able to decide if there's particular regions of the world you don't want to track. For example, let's say you don't want to track data collection or personalized data from Japan, then you can turn these off. In this case, we have all of them turned on. Same thing here, granular location, device data collection. Do
I
you
have a-
want to create? What was that? I'm
Willie, I
sorry?
got a question here. So what
Yes.
if you're a very local business, like Natural Medicine and Detox is basically the Phoenix Valley.
Mhm.
So we don't want to track people from, I mean, somebody may drive here from California, but so outside of the US, let's say. So it's an easy way to just put
Yeah,
the US.
so this is just so this is data collection, and we recommend to keep everything on, and I'll explain why. Because even though you may be targeting, let's just say, the Phoenix metro area, you can still do that, and you can still look at data for, when we go into reporting, you'll still be able to see all of your data for Phoenix, or all of your data for Arizona, or all of your data for, California and Arizona, or all of your data for the entire United States. But this is collecting data also from any users that come to your website that may live in other parts of the country. So for whatever reason that can be, but you do have that option of turning everything off when it comes to that, and just leaving United States off. If you're in the United States, if you're in somewhere like Mexico or Denmark, and you just want traffic or information or data, or you actually just want to collect the data from those users, then yeah, and you're still going to collect data. You're just not going to collect granular data, and you're not going to collect device data and more of that granular, the Google signals. So which is why we kind of recommend to keep that on, because maybe you're getting a good amount of traffic, but you start to realize that you're getting a lot of traffic from people outside of your targeted area.
Mhm.
Then you can make decisions based off of that information there, for whatever reason. Here's advanced settings, same exact thing. Gives you the option of turning off certain countries. And then if none of this was turned on and I'm turning it on, you do have to acknowledge that you're letting users know on your website that you're collecting data. So that's something that, for example, GDPR, and then in Europe, there's their standards. Most likely what's going on in California and some other couple states, it's going to happen throughout the entire country, where a user is going to have to consent that we are tracking them and that their data is going to be used for targeting. So then we have what's called data retention. So out of the box, this is going to be set to 2 months. We want to set this to 14 months, just because what data retention is how far back for our retention reports does Google want to use your data. This does not affect your standard report. So if it's still at 2 months and I want to look at year-over-year reports, I want to look at the last 6 months, it doesn't affect this. It's just for your retention data reports. But we always like to turn it on to 14 months. And you know what, I should probably be going into the natural account. I apologize. Let me open up another one. So I'm going to set up some of this for the natural medicine and detox. While we're kind of going through the demo. So data retention, we turn on to 14 months. We want to turn on Google Signals. We'll activate that. As you can see, that's exactly how it looked. If we ever want to turn it off, we just toggle it off. These by default are going to be turned on. We recommend you leave those, but if you needed to, you can always turn them off and just leave United States. Or if you wanted to just data on a particular state, you can do that as well. But like I said, it doesn't hurt to have that data. You'll still be able to report on certain cities and certain geographical regions. Advanced settings for ad personalization, we're going to leave on. And then we do want to acknowledge that data filters. this is important as well. When you go into data filters, for example, we are excluding internal traffic. What that means in your reporting is if I have web developers or myself or anyone on the team is on your website, that's going to skew your reporting, especially because they're constantly on your website, they're spending time, they're doing things under your testing. So you want to exclude your internal traffic. And once you identify those IP, as you can see in this particular case, we have developers and then we have internal traffic. Google is going to have everything set to testing. If we went to this new account, we don't have any active IP, but it's testing that data and it stays in testing for a while, right? You can override that by going in and saying, going in and changing that to active. So you can set that active. So right now it's just kind of testing the data. It's in a testing mode. So you'd want to activate that. I would probably activate it almost immediately. So you can start to exclude any of that internal traffic, or if you have developers working on your site, same exact thing you'd want to.
In fact, I'm in it right now.
Yeah. So very important to do that from the beginning. Next, data import. If you, like I mentioned, if you're importing any data, maybe you have, like in this case, member data, then you can import all of that into Google Analytics and use that data and kind of blend them together, which leads right into reporting identity. This also, when Google identifies users, it's going to use it based off of Google signals, device ID, and user ID, which is what your observation is, or your observed. If you want to use what's called model data, which we can do, is we recommend that you turn that on, because now it's going to use modeling. So that's not just going to use the user ID, and that's a user ID if the customer, if you have a login on your website, or somehow you're pushing a unique user ID to that particular user. All of Google signals, device ID, so if they're on a particular device, but then you have your modeling. So that's going to use other identifiers to track that user and blend that data together. So if a user is using one device and then they log into, their computer, it's going to use a lot of different things to kind of identify if it's the same user versus just using the device ID in this case, or a user ID if they sign in from multiple devices. Next, we have attribution modeling. So our settings for this is right now it's set to data driven, which is recommended. That all depends on what your objectives, what your goals are. If there's last click, first click, there's time decay. This is all retroactive. So you can, if you want to look at a report with first click, you can go in and change that to first click modeling, pull your report, and then change back to data driven if you want. So data driven is the modeling that we use, but that's, and I'm not sure what Google's using. Let's see what Google's using. Oh, they have us blocked from looking at their data modeling or their attribution. So, and then there's some settings that you can set up here for acquisition, conversion events, and others. So then something nice is that Universal Analytics can have is that you can actually see what changes were made to the account, when they were made, and by who. So in this case, for example, the very last change, well, there were some changes just recently done. These were done by me. If we went into, some of these are not going to have them.
Actually, yeah, we have in natural medicine, because I've made some changes there too.
Oh, okay. So we went into property change. You'll see here that Giselle made some changes, that I made some changes, and you can see the data filter is internal traffic there. So a lot of nice things that you can see. You can see all of the different changes. So if for some reason you need to just kind of see what's going on if you have multiple people on your team. And then you can also look at any data that's been deleted or scheduled to be deleted. And this works in a case to where you realize perhaps you're collecting too much personalized data on users in California, which violates the GDPR, or not GDPR, I forgot what it's called. Their privacy
California.
laws. So
Yeah.
what was that?
California specific has their own privacy laws.
Yeah.
GDPR is
Okay,
Europe.
So then you can go in and you can delete some of that data and you can see who has it scheduled, when it was deleted. Then we'll go into what's called the debug view. This is important. So when you're in Google Tag Manager, as an example, you can test what's going on live in your account. And the reason that you don't want to use your account or your actual the actual view is because if you have multiple people, and I'll go to a live view of this account. Oops. So where is the live view? Sorry, looks like there's a delay in my clicks. Eliminate live view from that one, so which is fine. So let me go into and show you what I mean by that. So right now, if we're in natural medicine and detox, which actually I'm going to change that account, I'm going to use my account. And I come down to debug view. I go to preview and I want to see what's working, what's not on my website. And I'm going to show you something really nice. So right now, there's nothing going on in my website that's in debug mode. But the moment I connect to it and go to the website, I'm not sure. Are you guys able to see what popped up on my screen? Okay, perfect. So now we're on my website, and now this debug mode is going to kick in the moment I start messing around on the website. So if I go here and I say, hey, I want to request a free consultation, right? And it takes me to this particular page. I go back here. Now we can see what's going on live. You can see there's a page view, session started. And you can start to go in and you can start to test things out. If I went in and whoops, where's that page? And I clicked on the Spanish page, right? So I go in there and I look at the Spanish page. Then this debug mode is going to, same thing, show another page view. If I wanted to go in and submit a form, anything that I have tracked, it'll start to show everything that's going on in what's called a debug mode. So it's not, you're not getting an extra hit or an extra view or an extra form fill on your website, on your data. It's in here to test and see exactly what's going on. I'm not sure if we have enabled scroll, but if I scrolled all the way down to a page, for example. So this is the bottom of the page. Let's see if I have that enabled. User engagement. Session start. So we don't have that enabled, but you can see how it starts to track every, okay, we do. Here we go, just a little delay. So here's the scroll. So we scrolled, so it's going to tag that as an event that a user scrolled all the way. Well, it's not going to tag it because we're in debug mode, but if I was just a normal user, you'd be able to track that. If you went in and someone submitted a form, same exact thing, you'll be able to see all of that. So this is how we test to make sure things are working. If we need to create specific forms, and you can see in my case here, in Google Analytics, or Google Tag Manager, that particular tag for GA4 did fire on a page load. So that's the debug mode. So now these product links give you direct integrations to I think about 3 months ago, there was only maybe 4 or 5 different products that you can link to. Now you can link directly to Google Ads if you wanted to, and this will push some of your Google Analytics data and your conversions into Google Ads. You have BigQuery, Merchant Center. So if you're in e-commerce, and I'm not sure if this e-commerce is going to give us access to view that, but you can connect it. Yeah, so it's not going to give us a view, but you can connect it to your Merchant Center, Ads 360, if you're enterprise, Search Console, same thing. So if you have Search Console, you'll be able to go in and link that. So you have additional data. So that's kind of the interface. Then we can kind of go into reporting, just so you can see how that all works. So let's go into the Google flooded account. Actually, we can stay in the merchandise store. So here we're going to have just your home page for your interface. In the past, your real-time reports. This is going to show your last 30 minutes. So you can see in this account, whoops. In this account, there's been 235 users. It breaks it down by country. You can change that if needed. If you wanted to look at city as an example, Chicago has had the most users in the last 30 days. Just some basic information here. You can toggle the different dates if you want to look at the last 28 dates, custom or anything like that. And then some more data reports here, country, sessions, by source. So this is just kind of a dashboard that can be customized. But once we go into reporting, we're gonna, okay, here's where real time is now. So this is just a snapshot, same exact thing as your dashboard. It's gonna have some additional widgets. We went into real time. We can see, and this is why we don't want to use real-time report and versus the debug, is there's 233 users on the website in real time. So if I'm in California, in Los Angeles, and there's other users in Los Angeles, I'm not really going to be able to see what I'm doing as granular as if we're in debug mode. So these are your life cycle reports. You got your acquisition reports, where are users coming from, right? Which is just your standard reports. If I wanted to see, in the last 28 days, where are my users coming from? Are they coming from direct traffic? Are they coming from organic? Maybe they're coming from paid shopping or paid search. We can see all of that information here. We can add a second dimension. So if we wanted to look at source medium, for example, we can see Google came from CPC, so your paid search ads. If we wanted to change the date range, like I mentioned, it's up here. If we wanted to look at the last 90 days and we wanted to compare that to the previous last 90 days or the same period last year, here's where our comparison is. So you can now kind of see a comparison of where we were the previous 90 days versus the 90 days prior to that. You can also edit comparisons. And what that means is if I wanted to add a segment of users from the United States and just look at that particular, let's see. So it's not going to let me use it in this one. It should. Let's type in city. Okay, it does. So if we wanted to look at users, oh, but I can't apply it on this demo account. What will happen is it's now going to show us data just for users in the United States as an example. And you can start creating different segments and comparisons if you want to compare new users versus regular users, if you want to compare maybe whatever data you want to compare, you can do that there. So we have all of the different acquisition reports, traffic acquisition as well. So you can go in here and you can kind of see the different users and comparison. Let me turn that comparison off. So now we have all of this different data. Then we have your engagement. So what are these users doing on your website, right? This is just an overview of what pages they've been, how their average time per session, how many different events, out of those users, have there been. If you want to look at events, here's where you can see all of your events that are being tracked. So these are all of the events, and looks like there's 28 different events being tracked. So you can get data on use any of these parameters here. Then there's conversions if you wanted to look at conversion data. And like I mentioned, these are just standard reports. You can go in and you can create additional reports. If this is an e-commerce store, which this one is, that's where your monetization reports are. You'll be able to see your revenue, maybe your popular products, items purchased by item name. So in this case, you can see Google Black Wheat Pen. A lot of different information. And then there's your retention data. Most advertisers or most digital marketers aren't going to use retention reports, but if you do need any data on that, here's where your retention reports. And in demographics, if they have Google Signals turned on, then you'll start to see demographics. So here, if we wanted to look at users by country, by city, by gender, so you can see in this account, 63% are male versus 36% female. Interests, so these will give you some good information if you're trying to target or create personas. You can identify what users are on your website. You can also create other reports. Are they engaging? What audiences are engaging with your website, and create personas off of that or targeting. Obviously, your age. You can look at languages. And then we're going to have our technology reports. So if you're curious or you need to know the information on what browsers are being used. So if you want to know what browsers, for in this case, it's Google Chrome. If you want to know new versus used, if it's desktop, mobile, tablet, screen resolution, a lot of information that you can get from these standard reports. On this up here on the right hand side, you're going to see what's called an insights, the ability to get insights. When you click on that, this is what I'm talking about when they say automated insights, that Google's going to give you information on how to interpret some of the data, and these are just basic. So if, for example, you wanted to know how many of my users on my website came from organic in the last 30 days, those are already there. You would just click on it. It's going to give you the answer, right? So if you wanted to say what type of browser, what browsers are used the most, and you just want that information quick in the last 30 days, you can see that here. And Google will start adding more and more automated insights with time. So just a lot of good information there. If you wanted to know what are your top pages and screens by, I forgot what that said, by views. So you can see your home page. In most cases, that's going to be the number one. Most views, your shopping cart, and they can start to see if there's any pages that are getting the least or the most, and then the least interaction or traction. So those are the reports when it comes to the standard reporting. Then we're going to go into Explore it. This is where we would create additional reports, and there's a few different options. You can create free forms, which is like tables, funnel explorations, path explorations, and segment overlaps. If we went into this free form, for example, report that's created, here's where we can add in all of our different segments. This is a drag and drop report. So if I wanted to drag this mobile traffic and move it into this row section, I would just kind of drag it. This is just a demo account, so it's not going to let us. So this is where we would create those reports, and these are more like customized reports. If there's particular data you want to know, there's your funnel exploration reports. For the moment data, so you can kind of see, your first opens up into your purchase or abandonments, and create segments if you want based off of these as well. So a lot of different reporting. This next one is your advertising. If you are doing any advertising or you have Google signals turned on, you'll be able to see that as well. Conversions directly, which is normally when it comes to advertising, what the main conversions are going to be, either purchases or lead generation. So you can see just a quick overview. You have your conversion path, so you can see what's leading to conversions. So it's normally not just one hit, it's organic plus 3 other things. It's organic and paid. You can look at model comparisons. If you wanted to change the model of from data driven to first click or last click, you can do that as well. If there's a particular conversion that you just kind of want to view, let's just say purchase, we can look at just purchases and which channels these purchases were coming, as well as the revenue.
Okay, Will, we have a question.
Yes.
Ryan asked, if users buy interest in blank, how long does it take to populate?
That depends on when, if Google has the data on those users that are interacting with your website. So if you turn it's not retroactive. So if I turn it on today, I'm not going to see that for a user from yesterday or the day before. Normally you're going to get data 24 to 48 hours afterwards. There's that delay process while Google collects the data and they analyze it. So you have that 24 to 48 hour period. However, Google has to have that data on that user. If it doesn't, then you're not going to see anything there. So that's how long normally it would take for it to populate, as long as the data is available for Google to be able to analyze. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Any other questions? Keep going.
Yeah, because we are kind of hitting the end, so we can open it up to any questions. I know I kind of went fast. There's just a ton of stuff to go over.
Yeah, again, this is being recorded, so you can view it again later and pause and so forth as you go through it, depending on what you get done. But Willie, tell us about what you can do for us, how you can help us. In fact, that was the next question. How do we get in touch with Willie?
Right. So, our primary focus and core product is digital advertising. So, but with that is data analytics. So we want to know who we're targeting versus who's actually going to our website, what they're doing. And as I mentioned, there's ways where you can create personas. You can really get an understanding of your users on your website. So, or app if you have apps as well. So, that kind of they go hand in hand. Data analytics, digital advertising, and a lot of different things of marketing. But yeah, you can through our website, you can reach out to us.
You type it into the chat, it would be great, and it'll also be into the email. How will Melissa asks, how will this new GA4 affect my Google My Business page?
So your Google which is now called Google Business Profile, so it's not going to affect it in any way. If you have Google Business Profile, you're still going to be able to capture data coming from your Google Business Profile, whether they click on a link to go to directly to your website. But yeah, there's no effect when it comes to your Google Business Profile and Google Analytics 4. You obviously want to have Google Analytics set up so you are tracking that data on where users are coming from, whether it's Google Business Profile or anything else.
Yeah. And Arlene just made a comment here that she hasn't used Google Analytics for like over 10 years. So she's trying to get started again. And that's just it. Google Analytics is like really super important because you're going to be doing a lot of marketing efforts, and you want to know where your people are coming from. If you're posting stuff to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn, wherever you're posting stuff, you want to know, okay. And in fact, I remember when I first started my business, I thought I was going to get more people from Facebook. I was posting, the same thing everywhere. And I realized that most of my people were coming from LinkedIn. So I had to go into LinkedIn and update my profile and start using it more. Okay, Willie put his email into the chat, and yeah, and so competition, yeah, so in fact there's a lot of things to get ahead of the competition to see. In fact, I just saw some data in Natural Medicine and Detox's the Search Console about what are the main search items, and we'll go over that later, but it's interesting, and this is because it's important to know that. So which are the most search terms that come up in Google search? When you look at your analytics, you're going to see the search engines come up first. So if you've had 1,000 people visit your website, about 600 of them or more than that is going to be from the search engines, and the rest are going to be divided down from direct, somebody that had your website address and just typed it in directly, or they came from a referral source that they saw it on somebody else's website and they clicked over to yours, or that they saw it in social media. So there's different ways that they can come in. Sometimes they'll come in from an email that you sent. So you're going to see the email as the source page, but that also tells you what's working and what's not working. So that's when you need to take a look at this and see, okay, oh wow, these are so this is what they're searching for. So I want to focus on that. If these are the main searches are one of the services that I offer, then this is what I want to focus on to get people in the door with these phrases, because that's the main thing they're searching for. So this really helps you. So yeah, I recommend setting your marketing goals from month to month. Melissa says, so Tag Manager can also track people coming from social media accounts. Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, it does. Absolutely. In fact, that was one of the ideas I just had to make sure that, because since we have a brand new website for Natural Medicine and Detox. So we want to make sure that Google indexes all of the pages. We've got like 50 pages in there. So one of the strategies would be to go share each page, through one of the, we're using Sendable to get out, to get those links out into the social media, because those are backlinks that help out. Shelly says, thank you, Willie and Giselle. So much great information. I've tried to do the switch over multiple times and failed. So I'm looking forward to the recording so I can go step by step through the process. Carletta says, thank you for your detailed presentation on this important subject matter. Very appreciated. Thank you all. Okay, so again, I'll have Willie's information in the email I'm sending out with the recording, and so then you can you can check it out, and of course, ask Willie to. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to help you with your paid advertising. That also is, for me personally, it's complicated to set up, and you think you got it right, and then you realize that you don't. And so it's one of those things that I'd rather have an expert do it. It's so much worth it to hire somebody who knows what they're doing to do this stuff. So if you're going to do paid advertising, that's what Willie's expertise is in. So I highly recommend his services in that. So, and I focus on organic or non-paid marketing online. So that's how we differ in what we do. But again, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you, Willie, for your expertise. And next month, I'm going to be doing my webinar. I'm going to be doing only one a month, at least for now, unless something else comes up that I want to do. So next month we are doing competition. So so if it's already the event's already set up, so you can go register for that. I'll have that registration also in the email that I sent out later. So again, thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you around. Thanks again, Willie. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. It's great to be on.